Hi to all. Um, I have to say this has been very inspiring. We've seen a lot of very interesting projects, and I wanted to start this a bit differently, but after seeing the colleague from Beirut, I have to say that with all the discussions that we have about being very sustainable and choosing a very sustainable approach to architecture, to the materials that we choose, and so on, which I think is perfectly necessary, but we don't have to forget that architecture, at least I think, is also about fun. It is about doing something which creates emotions, of course. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that sees it like this, but my guess is that in a best case scenario, architecture should also trigger some kind of daydream eventually. If someone goes there and visits a place or visits a building, and yeah, I think while having all the very important discussions about sustainability, I think that's something to keep in mind when coming up with new things. Today I brought some very small scale project of ours. Usually we do hotels of medium scales, I'd say. But every once in a while there comes up something which is very different, which is also very interesting for us, which poses new challenges. In this case, we were asked to build a viewing platform on top of a glacier in South Tyrol, which is in the northern part of Italy. It has been challenging because, of course, being born in that area, I'm from Bolzano, so the first thing that you ask yourself is this really necessary, of course? So build something on top of a 3,251 meter high peak. But eventually, it is not so much the question of is it necessary, but what happens if you do it. And in this case, I mean, the aim of the whole project was to like put something on top of a glacier, which allows for experiencing nature from a different point of view, you know, so to get like a different perspective on things. So basically, the whole idea in this case evolves around building something which is transparent at the same time. So putting on top a structure which allows for a safe viewing of the surroundings, but at the same time being transparent, as you can see in this case. So really like finding a language and a design which can become transparent depending on the angle that you look at it. And also, when talking about emotions, I mean, in this case, it is all about emotions, of course. You go there, you enjoy the view, and this is also something that, because some people were saying that we take something from the landscape, you know. So locals from the village were like, why are you doing this? I mean, the landscape is beautiful already. Eventually, when the platform was built, they went up there and they were like, you didn't take away something, but you allowed for a different kind of perspective of things, you know. So basically, it is more like empowering nature in this case and empowering the surroundings and not so much obstructing things or taking away from it. Same goes for the lake house in Suze. I mean, this is a completely different kind of project, but it's also very small scale. It is in the middle of the woods in South Tyrol. It is a very nice situation, as you can see. There's been a very tiny structure before. And in the background, you can see the Schiller, which is one of the most famous mountains in the area. And also in this case, it is all about like doing something which allows for having a drink maybe, or there's also wardrobes and showers and all the necessities that have to be there, but in a way that is very calm and very unobstructing. So we tried also to frame the nature and to frame the lake and to allow for being there, but maybe not necessarily noticing the architecture at all in a best case scenario. Of course, I mean, when talking about sustainability, when doing something in South Tyrol in that areas, but also in others, we always start from the materials. In this case, it is untreated wood. It is all made out of larch. I would be lying if I'd say that it's local wood, because the thing in South Tyrol is that while we have a lot of trees there, none of them are suitable for constructing things, or few of them. So the wood comes in this case from Austria, which is not too far away, but it is not a 0-kilometer project in this case. Anyways, of course, it is a sustainable material overall, which is something that we always try to keep in mind. Maybe not so much in this case. It is an extension of an existing hotel that we did. And it is a small wellness. And it's been a very interesting project, because when speaking about the new together in this context of the pandemic that we had in the last 2 to 3 years, what we noticed is that it's become a lot about the scale of the project. So in this case, the client asks for a very small, intimate kind of wellness area, and we came up with this idea of having like this shape of a traditional house, of course, and we had this this platform in between the two tiny villages, let's say, and we made for a very small and contained wellness, in a sense that it is made for maybe 20 people at once, but it is again a very intimate feeling, and again it is all for like being in a place and having a necessity which every guest asks for, but at the same time making for exceptional views and enjoying the surroundings. This is a competition that we did, and it's maybe one of the most like social project, let's say. It is a center for culture and community. And what we try to do is come up with a kind of very basic geometric shape which we can add to later, because I think that it is very important when thinking about something like this, or this typology of projects, to like plan for the necessity that the client has now, but also to make for something that can transform, in the following years. Because when talking about especially these structures or housing, not so much in the hotel business, but also there, it is all about having something that can transform in the years to come, because the necessities of tomorrow, of course, are not the same as the necessities of today. So in this case, it was more like a theoretical approach to what a building can be today and what a building can be tomorrow. The next project is also a very small scale project. It's an extension of an existing hotel. And when speaking about fun, I mean, in this case, we had this beautiful existing garden which the client has. And we tried to envision a way of making or of giving an experience to the guest which is not just special, but which is also kind of playful. So we tried to pick up on this idea of the tree house. I mean, the trees in the middle of the houses still need to grow, but the idea is to live in the middle of this existing park, so to have nature which surrounds you, and also when being there, to have like this feeling of being immersed in nature. Same goes for this competition that we did for the library in Milan. Eventually it was a bit too extreme, but as you can see also with this project, we really try to give back something to the city. So you have the existing park in the background on ground floor level, and the basic idea was to make the building usable for the community and to give something back to the public realm in that sense. So the idea was to have this like of wave which is covering all the different spaces, functional spaces of the library, which then becomes usable and becomes like a promenade and an integral part of this whole existing park. And as you can see, the park extends also on the inside of the library. So this maybe was also one of the reasons why we didn't win it, but in a way I think it is a very romantic approach to a project, having greenery everywhere. It is something that also Boeri showed before, of course. This is a project on the Alpe di Siusi. It is maybe the most remote hotel project that we did in a sense that there is nothing there. The nearest village is half an hour by car. We made the project car-free in the process. So the basic idea is to go back to this very basic conglomerate of a traditional South Tyrolean village in the middle of the mountains, which basically consisted of a few buildings, of a few small buildings, and nothing more. So we really tried to pick up on that. We avoided to build a huge structure, but tried to split up the volumes into tiny pieces. The rooms are 20 square meters big in size, which is very, very small for a hotel structure. But also in this case, it suits the surroundings. Again, the untreated wood in the facade that you can see, and in this case, the buildings can camouflage in a way that when the hotel is closed, also the facades can be closed and become like a very calm object without reflecting windows and reflecting surfaces to integrate perfectly within the surroundings. Thank you.